flat. And my desk going to be here, so I can look out. And then my work table is going to go here. This will be really I'm most looking forward to, is having a space where the animals can't actually walk on my ground. I've actually, having tried to work in this construction site, I've actually had quite a lot of difficulty because I sort of feel that the images, I was like, yeah, construction site, this is going to be so interesting. And then I started shooting and I was like, this is just more of the same. Like I sort of like, oh, I'm so tired of my old images, but I was like, when I'm trying to come here and shoot here, I felt that like there was a lot of the things were the same, and I'm sort of become aware that the space that I'm more interested in rather than the construction site is the construction of the body. And then I've also been having a bit of a crisis of faith in photography when it comes to that, and sort of what is the role of photography in my images, because I find that it's getting more and more obscured. It's not that I don't think that there's a place for it, I just think that I need to rethink how I'm shooting to make it work as a raw material. Because when I originally started shooting the master's work, I started shooting as this was going to be an end product, this was going to be a photograph. Whereas if I'm treating it as a raw material, as a physical, visceral material, I think it needs to be something different. How important are these photographs? Should I be letting go of myself as a photographer? What is that role? I don't know. And it's quite tricky. I'm not an abstract artist, I'm not interested in making work that's abstract. But then with your imagery, how do you control this? How do you work with that? Also, it would be nice for people not to constantly be referring to me as somebody who takes naked photos of themselves, which is definitely an interesting thing. That's what they get fixated upon out of all of it. It's got a little bit cold now in the water. You can't really see that clearly. I became much more interested in the surface of things. Also, having worked with micropore for quite a while, there was a sort of pinkness that one can't escape, and I wanted to sort of push that and take that further. And I mean, I wanted to take the surface of things further, and evade the flat pinkness. Multiple works are on the go at the same time, mainly because I have quite a short attention span, and also because I often get to a place in a work that I know it's not finished, something's bugging me about it, it's just not right, but I don't know how to fix it. And then it kind of just gets put to the side and I leave it, which is quite difficult for me to do because I kind of just want to carry on working at it, but I feel like, no, you're going to ruin it, so just put it to the side, a solution will come later. And so often work sit for a while and then they get worked on and they get worked on again. What I'm doing with one work tends to make me think differently about how I'm working with another work. Sometimes just doing things gets like actually move stuff, because otherwise you just always worry about if it's the correct move. I mean, I think I was definitely one of those kids in high school that like loved the story of Duchamp's large glass, but equally I always listened to that story and I thought, well, there are ways that they could have dropped that artwork and broken the glass, and I would have looked at it and thought, that f***ed up my picture. I mean, like, not every, and that is an interesting part of it, like, some mistakes are awesome and good and exciting, and some of them are horrible, and and you have to deal with that and change that. This is stockings, a lot of glue on them, that's why it's so, like, biltongy. And some of it's quite violent, and some of it's quite, you know, precious, actually, the only way to describe it. You know, because you just... Often the violent stuff is generally ripping things up, but often it gives really interesting textures and things. I think that will need to be trimmed. I like working on paper because of that. You can just cut things up. Well, I mean, the problem with walking on board is that you're kind of restricted to the size of it. Whereas paper, you can rip things. I mean, like, the back of this kind of says a lot of what has happened to this work, which I'm actually pretty happy with at the moment. Yeah, it's just kind of sitting there. I guess I haven't really felt that making multimedia work is such a shift from doing photography in the way because people react quite negatively to photographs as it is. Often people, I found, like my work better because it can't be reproduced, and that's still for some reason quite a big thing for a lot of people. I know that they're quite excited that this is it, this is the artwork, and that makes quite a big difference. I quite like that they change sometimes, but mostly they're pretty stable imagery. It's sort of hard, I mean, how long do people want it to last for? I mean, most of it, there is no reason to believe that within my lifetime any of my work will completely disappear. I mean, definitely there have been some things that have shifted a bit, more in the sort of the things like the glue and the glues, essentially. They dry slowly, and there's some glue that's currently opaque, and I wonder when that's going to dry. But I'm quite excited to see what that will look like, if it ever does. And I like to think that anyone that likes my work enjoys the fact that it is undecided, experimental, that that what you're getting is not something that's necessarily perfect or cookie cutter, but it will change and it'll move, and that expression is what makes it interesting, I hope, because that's what I enjoy about it.